Have you ever wondered how they do it? Behind every great piece of art is a story, a person with experience, skills, and prized creative secrets. We've convinced some of Malta's most prominent contemporary artists to give us an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at the making of their work, and to open up their process as they bring new original art to life. The Open Art Studio series offers a rare glimpse into how art is made, and is dedicated to art lovers, artists, and aspiring artists alike. From Malta, it's just 25 minutes by ferry to sister island Gozo. Known for its rich history and religious architecture, Gozo is less developed than the main island of Malta and has become popular among holidaymakers for its laid-back atmosphere, clear blue waters, dramatic cliffs, and rolling scenic hills. I'm Laura Swale, and I'm on my way to meet one of Gozo's most high-profile contemporary artists. Over the past 2 decades, Christopher Saliba has made a name for himself with his vibrant depictions of the Maltese islands, which have been exhibited in Italy, Canada, England, Japan, the United States, and the Louvre in France. Today I'll be joining Christopher on location and in his studio for a glimpse into his process as he creates a brand new piece of art.
I'm from Nadur in Gozo. It's my town of adoption because originally I'm from Shara. Gozo, compared to Malta, is still in its idyllic state. We have still lots of countryside to show in our paintings, and hopefully it will remain like this for a few more years. That's my worry, that whenever I go and choose the right landmarks and the right spots to paint, they are getting always less and less. So in a way, my paintings are like a statement. Let's save the Maltese and Gozitan countryside. We're still in time to do so. I sold my first painting when I was 6 years of age. It happened in my father's restaurant. From there was no way backwards, but only forward. Then when I grew up, eventually I took my course at university. I graduated as an art teacher, and following that I completed a 4-year course at the academy in Perugia, in Italy. Coming back here in Gozo, I set up this studio here, and I'm working here day in, day out. And I'm happy to do so. I've been doing so since 2002. And hopefully I have many more years to come doing this beautiful thing, which is art.
Chris, we're here in your studio in Nadur in Gozo. As a landscape painter, you have a choice. So you can either paint on location or you can paint in the studio. Can you tell me why you prefer to paint here as opposed to outdoors?
Yes. Whereas with the en plein air artists, they are more concerned with representing a faithful depiction of what they are seeing. Here in my studio, I'm more into a personal way of interpreting all the visual data which comes with a landscape painting. So yes, I go outside, I get my inspirations and everything, and once I'm back in my studio, I create whatever is necessary to create a balanced composition. The location which I have chosen today is the skyline of Nadur. We have the church as a dominant feature. Then, of course, there is the valley and the fields in the foreground.
So can you tell us a little bit about the materials that you're using and the type of paint medium?
Yes, usually I use acrylics as a medium. The reason being that it dries quickly. And in my case, since I use this Crumbling Technique, the colors are allowed to dry faster. And this allows me to create superimpositions of layers upon layers of color. For my paintings, I usually use large brushes. being an expressionist artist, I prefer a rather energetic approach to the depiction of a landscape, or it could be even an abstract painting. But this is more synonym to my nature.
So you have a very particular way of preparing your canvas, of priming it. Can you tell us how you do it?
Yes, for me, priming a canvas is an essential part of the whole process. Priming a canvas is giving already a character to the painting itself. And I'm already building up texture on the surface. Later on, it will create a rather textured effect. This is acrylic. Again, the medium is still acrylic, and I use a binder which adds consistency to the material used.
To make it thicker?
Exactly, to make it thicker.
So, can you tell us what you're going to do next?
So, next I will create a tonal ground. I'm choosing a color red for this tonal ground, as I usually do. Basically, the tonal ground is like a middle tone. So it is neither dark nor light, it's somewhere in between, and it will help me relate more or less the tonal gradations of the color scheme I'm choosing.
So Chris, the convention of using a tonal ground is a very common practice amongst artists, but normally they would use a grey or a brown or a neutral colour. You've gone for bright red. Why is that?
It's typical of expressionist artists to use daring colors, and in my case, here I'm using red, which is a quite charged color, to enhance the emotional expression.
Okay, so can you tell us how you're going to transfer your photograph, your image, onto the canvas?
I will now make a very schematic drawing. I will be very minimal in my intervention here because I want to focus more on color.
We've got this beautiful sketch here on the red background, and I know that colour is really important in your work. So how do you choose your colours? I know that you're an art teacher and you've got your colour wheels on the wall here. Maybe you can explain a little bit about how you choose.
Yes, basically we have some diagrams here. They are showing the color wheels. So we have the primary colors, red, blue and yellow. And opposite each primary color we find the complementaries. These work best when placed next to each other. When you mix them up, let's say it's a complete mess. But if you are good at keeping them close to each other, they emanate energy and they help each other and they boost each other. For red, it will be green. So we'll be having greens and reds complementing each other here. We'll be having blues and oranges complementing each other here. And we'll be having some violets and yellows complementing each other. Nadur is abundant in water and everything, so we have still, even if it's the peak of summer, we still have greens showing. And let's do it. Let's see how it will come out. The technique I'm using is the Schembri technique. So this requires the minimum use of water. So mostly what I'm using is color directly from the tube. It's mixed on the palette. I'm using, at the time being, mostly primary colors. Then eventually I go into secondary and complementary colors. The reason why I use this technique is to boost the textures. As you have seen earlier, I started with a textured, primed surface. And in this way, the reds are showing through by keeping the colors I'm applying in a dry way.
So you can really see the red showing through from the tonal ground underneath, particularly in the blue at the top. What's the purpose of doing this, of having red all over?
So, one of my mentors, the late Harry Oden, once taught me a very important thing. the all-over technique. That is, when I apply a particular hue, it's good for the composition to repeat it in different areas of the same painting. And this unifies the composition.
So we were talking earlier about complementary colours and red being the opposite of green on the colour wheel, and I can see that you've got your greens in there. Tell us a bit about the use of complementaries, and in particular here, red and green.
The greens and the reds are now complementing each other. The greens are juxtaposed on top of the reds, and the reds are showing through. And it's a nice combination because you'll be seeing all this process all over the surface of the canvas. I tend to use lighter tones in the background and darker tones in the foreground to create an idea of depth. Regarding landscape painting, I love doing landscapes simply because our island is beautiful, and I try to show the beauty of it. As the Impressionists used to do in the past, they try to exploit the light, the warmth of the light. And in the same way, let's say, like Van Gogh used to do, and Paul Cézanne, Gauguin himself, they were really bright colorists. And they managed to really exploit beautifully the idea of light. The same way here, I'm trying to convey the idea of vibrancy, of warmth, of our Mediterranean country.
Do you have any words of inspiration or advice for other artists, aspiring artists, or even your fellow artists?
Definitely. For the young ones, I tell them it's always hard, especially during the formative years. But it's always an uphill. Art is like a journey, and it doesn't have a destination. So it's always work in progress. Sometimes there are ups, other times there are downs. Yes, even if you're going through a difficult period in time, I always tell fellow artists, keep working. Even if it just means going to your studio and just prepare a canvas, but at least you're still doing something art-related. And yes, eventually results will show.
The series is brought to you by Allura. Allura works with leading local artists to showcase outstanding art and to show you what goes into making it. For original paintings by some of Malta's most sought-after artists, visit the Allura Art collection at www.alluraart.com.